So we're gonna talk about the assignment again, starting from the top, starting from question number 1. Question number 1. Right, question number 1. So this is based on that RU case. It's all fiction, right? But it's inspired by real life events. Nice. So question 1A, conduct with an in-depth theoretical review a definition of the difference between procurement and purchasing strategies. You must then demonstrate detailed knowledge on the opportunities and consequences of a centralized procurement structure for RU versus a decentralized model. Hybrid models should also be discussed, and at the end recommend the most suitable one for an organization like RU. Now, let's break this thing down like a DJ. Let's break it down like a DJ, right? Let's slow down the music, break down the assignments, sorry, in different elements. Make it easier for you all, make it more palatable. So first thing you need to do, follow the guidelines. Follow the guidelines. First thing you do is define supply chain management. That's the first thing. So in a generic manner, define supply chain management. And if you highlight all my blue narrative, it will link you to another document, right? So you see the blue narrative that is underlined, click it, and this will give you a definition of supply chain management, right? There are other definitions, of course. So the first thing you do is give a definition of supply chain management. First things first, right? You with me on that? You with me on that? The first thing you do is give a definition of supply chain management. Now, you move on from there. Purchasing and procurement. Then you give a definition of purchasing and procurement. Talk about the difference. And we know the difference, right? And you can source academic information, right? Or you can get information from academic sources. That's what I meant to say. Right? So procurement, talk about purchasing, talk about the difference between procurement and purchasing, right? I mean, I've mentioned this many times. We've said that procurement is strategic, purchasing is non-strategic. Purchasing focuses on the transactional elements. Procurement on the strategic elements. Procurement, as we say, is strategic sourcing. You all know that pretty well, right? Then we move on from there. Ensure to provide definitions from a mixture of academic and non-academic sources, right? You got that, Abdul Latif? So academic sources are journals. Academic sources are journals, guys. Non-academic sources, on the other hand, are like magazines, for example, right? Non-academic sources. You all got that? Are you with me on that? Udaya. Charlene, Denosha. Are you all there? You with me on that? Very important. Nice. So using examples will help, right? The structure of supply chain management or procurement department should now follow. So in terms of structure, you want to bring in the RRU element now. This will involve an overview of the structure. This will involve an overview of the structures mentioned, including the hybrids. You should recommend one for RRU. So let me just recap this quickly. Define supply chain management. Talk about purchasing and procurement and how they are different. You can acquire this information from different sources, and then you talk about the structure of procurement department. And while you do that, you may want to recommend, a particular structure for RRU. What do you think is best for RRU? Denosha, what procurement structure remains best for RRU? What do you think, Denosha? What procurement structure, in your view, is better for RRU? Udaya, hybrid. So there are two hybrids, right? There's the scan and clan, right? So in these two hybrids, one is more centralized, and in the other one it's more decentralized. So I might support a hybrid as well, right? Okay. So when you're talking about hybrids, you're talking about SCAN and CLAN, right? CLAN, center-led action network. SCAN, centralized. I keep always forget SCAN. Strategic SCAN, strategic center action network. I think that is it. I always forget it. Strategic. Let me check it. I always forget. I always forget SCAN for whatever reason. Right. So hold on. Okay. Strategically controlled action network. Sorry. So SCAN is strategically controlled action network, right? Yes. So that is more, it's a hybrid, it's more centralized, right? You with me on that, Denosha? And then CLAN, it's this hybrid, but it's more on the decentralized side. So I have that in one of our slides, if you look at the diagram that I drew. Anyway, so that is A for you. Question 1A for you, right? It's very easy. Just do all of the following, all of the above, all that I mentioned. Then there's a B part, right? B. I'm going to read it quickly. Design a detailed but concise procurement or sourcing model for RRU that is likely to revisit several of the problems highlighted in the investigation. Right? The procurement process must make sure to adopt a best practice approach, right, for the acquisition of high value, high risk, and capital equipment items, which must include a robust supplier evaluation model, right, and an in-depth environmental scanning review. The cycle must demonstrate an in-depth knowledge of the types of tenders and recommend, with justification, the most appropriate one for the future, or the most appropriate one for future RU contracts, right? I'll make it easy for you in a minute. The student is expected to consider real-world factors that will often impact the railway industry and the European region when discussing the market review analysis in the model. All right, so what are the guidelines? What is required? What are the guidelines? The student is expected to present, first thing you're expected to present, a procurement model based on the procurement cycle. You all remember the procurement cycle? So I'll hyperlink here. Don't forget the procurement cycle, right? This is a link on the procurement cycle. We did speak about this, yes, and if I'm not mistaken, we did an exercise too. Let me make it a bit bigger for you. So this is the procurement cycle here, right? So the procurement cycle focuses on many elements. So you have to understand the need. There's market review, review the market. Reviewing the market is basically doing your environmental scanning. It's really all about PESTEL, looking at the political, economical, social, technical factors, yes. And then you have all the different stages, right? So you are required to look at all of the above, right? I just saw something. I'm going to share it with you all. This class is dynamic, right? We're dynamic, we are flexible, and so on. Nice. Good. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. So you got that. You got that, Denosha? Denosha, are you with me? 9 minutes so far. Are you with me on that, Denosha? Right? That's the first thing. So Denosha, are you with me on that? Charlene, are you there? Charlene, you with me on that? So the first thing you need to do is you're expected to present a procurement cycle, right? You can use that same cycle, but basically bring it to life. Bring the procurement cycle to life. So when you're talking about identifying a need, talk about the identification of, talk about it in the context of the case itself. So if RRU needs to identify a need, in doing so, they need to understand the type of rolling stock that they need. Rolling stock is like the trains on the rail, right? Things that relate to the assignment itself, right? Right, so that's important. The cycle must be brought to life, right? I was just saying that. From defining the need to developing the procurement strategy for the firm, right? The procurement of a new line can be used as an example. A well-detailed process should avoid supplier contractor issues, with mention of supplier appraisal process. So a well-detailed process should avoid supplier contractor issues. So what we're saying is basically this. We are arguing that RRU did not maintain, or they failed to have a procurement cycle. You with me on that, David? We are arguing that RRU failed to have a proper cycle with all the different steps or stages. So we're doing one for them, right? Because of this, they would have been faced with a lot of problems, right? Testing 1, 2, 3. If I'm going too fast, tell me to stop. An environmental scanning through pastel. So basically, I'm talking about the cycle here. An environmental scanning through pastel model must be proposed and examples to be used. You are reminded that a best practice approach is encouraged to afford a seamless procurement process, right? Then you move on to another thing. Types of tenders. All right. Types of tenders. So discuss the different types of tenders. Types of tenders must be outlined, while you may recommend the most suitable tender model for RRU. So, Denusha, what is the most suitable tender type you would suggest for RRU, right? So if you hyperlink this, you would see different types of tenders. We know them selective and restrictive and negotiated type tenders. What would you recommend? Just for conversation, what would you recommend, David? David, what would you recommend for RU? Yes, for sure. Definitely selective. Come on. Yeah. It's a high cost, high risk project. Only a few suppliers can really do this job, or contractors. It's highly specialized, right? So we expect that. We don't want to waste time. The risk is high, the stakes are high. Right, so real world macro factors may affect the choice of supplier as well. You may want to highlight that. And hence, this must form part of the discussion. See link here for additional info. Factors impacting the railway industry, procurement in railway projects, etc. Right? So this is question. This here is we just did question 1A and B, or question 1A and B discussion, where we looked at in question 1A we spoke about procurement, and we had to give a definition of procurement and purchasing and supply chain management, and we had to give some insight on the procurement structure that RRU should adopt. I think Denusha said she'll go with the hybrid model, right? And then question B spoke about the procurement cycle, right? That is 1B. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3.